Hello YouTube, this is Mike from Hudson Valley Hi-Fi back with another video, and today is one that we've gotten plenty of requests for since our Planar 1 versus Planar 2 from Rega video. This one is Planar 2 versus Planar 3. What are the differences? What are the features that one might have over the other? And which one's right for you and your system? So this is going to be just a quick overview. We're not going to play these tables. We're not going to try to record the way they sound over YouTube. We're just going to go over the differences. A lot of this you can read online. You can also see in their spec sheets. But some of it you may not have thought is as big of a deal as it is, but it can make a tremendous difference in choosing the table you're going to have, for hopefully the next several decades. So this is just two examples here. These are our floor models. Color doesn't really matter with this table. There's no different special editions or anything. The red one, which is the Planar 2, that is available in black, white, or red, as is the Planar 3. Once in a while, we'll see a special model come down from Rega, kind of a signature edition or something like that. But these are just two out of the box, off the shelf, Planar 2, Planar 3. And the only real thing that these two tables share is the plinth. So they both have this high gloss acrylic plinth, and both of them are an MDF type material that's wrapped in the glossy acrylic. But really when it comes down to it, that's the only thing besides subplatter and belt that these two share. Everything else about these two tables is pretty much different. So let's just start with two very simple things. Felt mats. This one has the thinner felt mat, which is also on the Planar 1. As you can see, our platter is covered in fingerprints because we do take this platter on and off quite often, both in setting up turntables for our customers and just demoing, how to change from 33 to 45, moving the belt up and down. The mat on the Planar 3 is a bit thicker. Hard to show in the video, but yeah, it's substantially thicker of a wool mat. And you can buy different mats for these. Obviously, you can try cork, leather, rubber, all different types of composite materials. But the felt mat does come with it. It is quite good, and it does accompany the glass platter really well. Now, both of these units do have dust covers. They come with the standard dust cover that works for Planar 1, 2, or 3. It is the same dust cover that comes on either of the three models. Planar 6 is a different dust cover. It is a shaded, kind of tinted acrylic. And then Planars 8 and 10, obviously they are radically different. The dust cover is not rectangular. It does kind of fit the arm and the skeleton chassis that the 8 and the 10 is famous for. So now, next, we'll just work from top down. The platter. As you can see, the platter is glass on both of these. However, the platter, let's see if I can come down here and show you, the platter on the 3 is slightly thicker, approximately 2 millimeters or so thicker. They're both the Opti glass platter. So yes, they are both glass. Planar 3 is a bit larger. It is a bit heavier. If you can feel it picking it up and holding it, there is a bit more weight to it. More weight, a little more inertia as the motor gets going. Subplatter assembly, as you can see, it is a composite subplatter. I'll just pull this off. It is the Rega composite subplatter. The motor, which is 24 volt, it's mounted right here next to the subplatter. And the standard black rubber belt that Rega has been putting on their tables for quite some time now. Exactly the same on Planar 3. And both of these are adjustable for speed by removing the platter and moving the belt up and down on the pulley. So if you go down, there's the 45 on the bottom. Now the bearing in the 3, this is something that you don't see very often, but the bearing in the 3, I'll just remove the platter for a moment, remove the belt, and show you. This is the new improved bearing from Rega. And you see it does require a special tool to remove it. So that actually is something that is kind of an upgrade. Of course, it'll take forever for our subplatter to go back down into the assembly. But that is a big difference. The platter on the Planar 3 now, it shares that with the Planar 6. It is the upgraded bearing. It is a much tighter tolerance, and longevity-wise, it is pretty easily replaceable if you have the special tool. You can just remove it. We have one of them in the store here, just in case we ever needed to change a bearing out in the future. But at this point, I can't imagine any of these tables would require a bearing replacement. So moving onward, if you notice on the Planar 3, there is this large brace that goes from the arm over to the subplatter assembly, and it actually wraps around the bearing. That's an aluminum brace. It's on the top side. On the underside of this table, there's also a phenolic brace, a composite material, that runs from the arm over to the bearing and the spindle assembly in the middle. This adds a lot of rigidity to this turntable. So, it may not seem like such an important thing, but adding machined bracing like this, you're now tying the arm to the center bearing, and that's going to add a lot of rigidity to this turntable. Remember, Rega is all about reducing vibrations that can affect the music, and that's a fantastic idea to have those two braced together. It takes away a bit of the reliance on the plinth for reduction, and it allows this to do a lot of the work. Planar 2 does not have that. Planar 1 or Planar 2 do not have the bracing. That is something that we do see on the 3, 6, 8, and 10. And it is a pretty big upgrade. It is also something you really can't change on your Planar 2. It's the one thing we keep stressing is that, Planar 2 to Planar 3, it's not something you can upgrade. It's not something that you can upgrade your 2 to make it a 3. Basically, budget-wise, it doesn't make much sense either. And that brings us to one of the big items here is the arms that are on these tables. Again, the arm on the 2, if you look at it there, I'll go right over to the 3, doesn't look much different. It actually looks very similar. There is an adjustment on the 3 for vertical tracking force. That's this dial right here. So you essentially set this arm up. If you don't have a digital scale or a beam balance, you would put your counterweight on until the arm floats. And then if you look at the graduations on here, you can adjust this dial. That will set your tracking force. How we've done this arm right here, we use the Rega Atlas vertical tracking force gauge. We have an Ortofon 2M blue cartridge on here, which is not included with the table. We'll go over that in a moment. But we've set this table up essentially just using the counterweight's position to set the vertical tracking force. We haven't used the spring at all here to set that force. On a Planar 2, it's a little bit actually more complicated. Planar 2 comes with the carbon cartridge from Rega, same as Planar 1, and there is no option for other carts or no cartridge. And this is done by essentially just setting the counterweight. Now here in the store, we typically set these up for the customer before it leaves. So we make sure that this is set correctly. Your tracking force is dead on. The manual, I believe, just tells you to run it all the way up to the back of the tone arm. We've always found that to be a little heavy when we run it. So having a tracking force gauge, a digital or a beam gauge, it's really helpful. And it helps you to set this cartridge up, optimally. Now, the other thing that you may not notice, but if you take a close look under the arm on the Planar 3, this is the RB330 arm, whereas Planar 2 has the RB220 arm. This little gauge right underneath here is your anti-skating or your biasing. So remember that when the centrifugal force of a table is always pulling the arm, the anti-skate gives a resistance to that. It pulls the arm in the opposite direction. So anti-skating is it's very important when you're stepping up into a table at this level. Having some sort of adjustable anti-skate is pretty necessary, and being able to dial it in like this. Essentially, this is more of a fine-tuning that you're doing. And we always found that our anti-skate tends to be somewhere around 70–80% of the vertical tracking force is usually ideal. This can vary, though, cartridge to cartridge, table to table. That's just roughly what a Rega turntable would be. As we go over to the Planar 2, this has the RB220 arm. This has a fixed bias. They say an auto, or some people say, oh, there's no anti-skate. No, there is anti-skate. It's just not adjustable. The anti-skate on this table is kind of set up for the carbon cartridge. We have found, however, using other carts on this table, I've never really found one that was grossly non-compliant with the fixed bias. If any of you have found a cartridge that doesn't agree with your Planar 2 or Planar 1, I would really be interested to hear which cartridge that would be. If you could, definitely comment below and let us know. But all the cartridges we've put on here in the store are everything from Denons and Grados, many Ortofons, some Audio-Technicas. We've never really had issues with anti-skating problems with this table. It is very easy to set up and very easy to get spinning vinyl. But having the adjustment is really, really clutch. Both tone arms are one piece, front to back. They are also fixed to their RCA cabling, the interconnects that come out of here. And that's another important, really important feature that is very often overlooked. This is the very simple RCA interconnects that come off the Planar 2. Let's see if we can get in focus for you. This is fixed right to the base of the arm. There is no changing these easily. There are some guys on the web that will change these on your turntable, but they're not so easily replaced. It is kind of what it is. On the Planar 3, we start with a much heavier interconnect. This is a Rega low capacitance RCA interconnect with these beautiful Nutrix RCA connections on the end, these nice phono plugs. This is a big step up. This alone is really nice. And it's what you'd expect, on a table at this level, a much better interconnection. Other than that, this is the RB330 arm. There's really no options on it. Like on the Planar 6, we'll see some more options getting added to this. But that is the arm that's on the 3 versus the arm, the RB220, which is on the Planar 2. So lastly, the other issue that we've had some customers tell me is they want something that can upgrade the power supply on the Planar 3 versus Planar 2. Can they do that? Can they upgrade from the standard wall wart power supply? Now, mind you, both of these units have an AC synchronous motor. So that motor is right here. It is a 24-volt motor, and there really is no difference here. However, there is the Neo power supply, and the power supply that Rega came out with when the latest Planar 6 was released is used on the Planar 6, and it uses the same motor as well. The bonus of using the Neo is that it essentially then decouples the power. It buffers the power coming out of the wall to DC energy and then oscillates it correctly, precision to the correct frequency for the motor, for the AC motor. So what that gives you is just a much more accurate speed control by using the Neo power supply. It can also be really dialed in, so it's just rock solid. The Planar 3, although does not come with the Neo power supply, you can add that to this table. On the rear of the turntable, there are two connections, one for the wall wart, the 24-volt wall wart, and the second one, which is the umbilical that comes off of the Neo power supply. Planar 3 is capable of utilizing the Neo power supply. It is an addition, it is an option. Now, we also talk with customers all the time that if your plan is to upgrade to the Neo in the very near future, I would sort of recommend taking a closer look at Planar 6. The difference in pricing and the difference in features, which we'll also cover in a later video, may make more sense to purchase right off the start and basically jump into a Planar 6 with the Neo power supply. However, it is something you can absolutely add to the Planar 3. If you were to purchase it, you could add that down the road, and it would be a really worthwhile investment in jumping up to that addition. Other than that, difference of cartridges. Planar 3 has two options. When you purchase Planar 3, 3 color options, just like Planar 2, but there are also then 2 cartridge options. Basically no cartridge, which would just be a bare turntable with the arm, or you can get a nice little discount on the LS2 cart from Rega. The LS2 is about a $300 cartridge. When purchased on the Planar 3, it gets reduced to about $200. So if you are planning on purchasing the Rega cartridge, it would be a good time to buy one with your Planar 3. LS2 is a fantastic sounding cart, very musical, very pronounced mid-range, very Rega. It's a great sound. We've always seen it as a mixed in the store here. We sell many of these with LS2s. We sell many of these with Ortofon. We sell many of these with Ortofon moving coil. We sell many with Denon moving coils. Audio Technicas. There's a wide array of cartridges you can put on Planar 3. I would say 2M Blue, which is the cartridge that's mounted on this table. That is a very, very common combination out of our store, but we've seen plenty of 2M Bronze. I've even had 2M Blacks from Ortofon put on here. Very high-end moving magnet cart and sounds wonderful. The turntable can definitely justify a very high-quality cartridge. And like all Rega turntables, we stress this all the time. These are tables that you can basically own forever. They are extremely well supported by the company. Their quality control is outstanding. And you know, it's just a precision machine, and it really is amazing what the product is that Rega can give you at their various price points. But that is our basic overview of the Planar 2 and the Planar 3. If you could post, if you're familiar with the differences between these in terms of sound, we would love to hear your comments about this. Please do that below. As always, we'd love for you to subscribe to our channel so we can keep producing these videos. We have plans for a wide range of comparisons and introduction videos in the near future, and we'd love your support. So subscribe below, push the bell so you get our alerts every time we post a new video. We'll also be posting some information with our videos over on the website. And if you have any questions whatsoever about any products, both Rega or any of the ones we carry here in the store, you can always reach us. Our phone number at the shop, 845-219-1730. Website is hudsonvalleyhifi.com. And my email is Mike, M-I-K-E, at hudsonvalleyhifi.com. Always happy to help, always happy to pass along some information if you're looking at any of these products. And it's just a wonderful hobby, and we enjoy it just as much. So thank you very much again for watching. Greatly appreciate it. Please subscribe, and we'll see you at the next one.